Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Is It Worth the Gold video. Today we are looking at the T54 First prototype, the Tier 8 Soviet Premium Medium Tank. Costs 8,750 gold and it has only one thing going for it, and it's the armor. The armor on this tank is ridiculous if you want to call this a medium tank. It is not really a medium, but like 120 upper and lower plate armor makes the Tiger II look like a big joke. And 90 side armor also makes the Tiger II look like a big joke. The turret is also really nice. You do have some flat zones, so if you're facing one of these with low pen, you either need to look for shots in the gun mantlet next to the gun, or you need to look for the cupola. 45mm cupola is real obvious and easy target to hit. Also, the top of the turret armor is 15mm, so whenever you see the top of this tank, you can just auto-pen this with like any gun in the game. So look for that. Regarding side scraping, it's quite an efficient way to use this thing. Note that if you're facing enemies with 220 plus pen, the side scraping might not work very well if one of your plates are going to be too exposed to bounce a shot from a gun with 220 plus pen, so be careful. Other than that, there's nothing really to say about armor, so let's get into the game. So here's the game. As always, before we get into too much action, let's look at the stats. 1300 hit points, 44 km/h top speed limit forwards, 18 backwards. The tank weighs 35 tons. Engine power 520 horsepower, making the power to weight actually not that bad for a tank with this much armor. 14.65 is pretty damn healthy. Traverse speed 42 degrees. The soft stats are not great. They're worse than on tanks like the Type 59 and much worse than on tanks like the Panther 88, but it's not that terrible. It could have been worse. View range though really bad at 360. Turret traverse 40 degrees, and then the biggest shock of all of this is this gun. 250 alpha, 175 pen, APCR pen 235, also really low. Rate of fire 7.41, reload 8.1. The DPM on this pretty damn terrible. Stock values DPM is 1850 compared to Panther 88's 2088. The Type, however, does have worse DPM, so I guess one tank it does beat. When it comes to the accuracy and the aiming time, 0.38 meter accuracy and 2.6 aiming time really feels way worse though. When you play it, you can like really tell that this gun is not very good at all. So we're playing on the new Swamp map. It finally got some changes that actually impacted in a positive way. So from what I just read out, the stats actually look pretty good for this tank. I mean, if you compare it to the Type, it almost beats Type in every possible way, really. And the Type was considered to be one of the best premium tanks back in the day. So why is this tank not really all that good? Well, because it doesn't get preferential matchmaking. And this tank at tier 10 is just flat out terrible. Your armor doesn't work, this gun is just idiotically bad. And there's a lot of really bad things about this tank when it is bottom tier. It is not very fast, the view range is terrible, you're like literally useless. And that is the biggest difference. This tank with premium matchmaking probably would just be considered flat out OP, but since it does see tier 10 games every third game, it is pretty inconsistent, let's put it this way. This tank, however, in a really good matchmaking, can just literally drive over the entire enemy team on its own. And the equipment choices also kind of are impacted by the fact how bad this tank is at tier 10. I mean, my equipment of choice now is vert stabs, rammer, and binos because, I mean, in tier 10 games, half of the time you just can't do anything with this gun, so you need to make the spotting work, and you need to have those binos because optics wouldn't just do shit on this. You can also go the conventional way, slam ventilation over the binos and be even worse at tier 10 games. Also, if you're willing to shoot gold, I guess this thing isn't that terrible at tier 10, even though still 230 pen with really bad aiming stats and really expensive shells isn't the greatest thing ever. Either the ammo count is quite low in this tank as well, meaning that you can't really like prepare for the tier 10 games by just storing extra gold ammo and just use it whenever you get into those bad matchups. And before I forget, one more stat I needed to mention, and I didn't, is gun depression is 6 frontally, 5 to the back. It's pretty standard for a Russian to any kind of medium, I guess. So how do you make this tank work? Well, first of all, your enemies need to be close to you. You need to be within 200 meters for sure. The closer the better. This gun does not appreciate shooting at small targets at long ranges at all. Obviously, hull down is always more effective than not being hull down. Need to be careful with aiming too long when you're in close range, because the cupola of this tank, as I mentioned, it is a really easy weak spot to hit, so you kind of want to keep moving at all times. And in the good matchups, you always want to be the guy that's in front of everybody else, be the guy that is the front line. This tank can easily do it, and it is the best way, in my opinion, how to play this. But in the bad matchups, and I cannot stress this enough, this tank from an epic brawler becomes a really bad support vehicle. Your armor is not going to really save you at those bad matchups, and if you take away armor from this tank, it's pretty damn terrible, everything else about it. Obviously, the usual rules apply. If you load and shoot more gold ammo, you're probably likely to do more damage. As I said, the problem with low ammo count is still there. That was a terrible shot, by the way. And if you do have the binos on this, then you can at least perform the role of a spotter in those tier 10 games, so you are not completely worthless in terms of actually doing something that has any significant meaning in the game. This gun, man. Crew skills for this is pretty much the usual stuff: repairs, sixth sense, and smooth right snapshot, all the good stuff. Situational awareness also helps, recon also helps. Yeah, this game so far, I mean, I took an aggressive play down south, did manage to farm a Tiger 2 that for some reason was not very keen on looking at me, and made it really easy for my terrible gun to do work on the side of his turret. Did make some poor decisions at the start of the game as well, and the T54 almost got me killed there as well. But yeah, I did make some bad decisions in this game. The shot I took from the WZ was not necessary to take at all. I should have angled better there. He penned me with AP with 175 pen, so I did not angle there very well at all, and I missed my shot as well. So that was not very good, and kind of lost me a lot of health, and could have killed me there if the CDC would have penned. So, to sum it up, is this thing worth the gold? Well, for me, it's not gonna be the first thing I would put in my shopping basket, but for you it might be. If you like the gameplay you see here now, I mean, when you spawn top tier, this is kind of how it rolls. This tank can be a really good brawler, but then again, when you spawn bottom tier, you can go fuck yourself pretty much. So yeah, that's my verdict on it. It's not really my type of tank, but it's viable. It works in tier 8 games and doesn't work in tier 10 games, but if you can bear with it, I mean, it's not the worst choice you could make on a premium tank to buy. But for me, there is also a lot of better choices as well. It's pretty decent price for money value though, so the final verdict is gonna be that it is worth the gold. It's just that you need to be somewhat masochistic to play this thing in tier 10 games. And here's the end plate: 4596 experience with the double, ace tanker, high caliber, and Confederate. 4095 damage done and 1071 damage assisted. Pretty good cash as well, 125k before the repairs and 111k after. Not that the standard ammo is dirt cheap, so this tank makes pretty good money as long as you can damage whatever you're shooting at with the standard ammo, really. 1532 base XP with 5 kills as well. So yeah, that's my take on the T54 First prototype. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one.